What's up? This your boy Super Mario 1990 doing a spoiler-free review of Resident Evil 3, the remake. Now, this review will only cover the campaign portion of the game. I won't include Resident Evil Resistance. I don't have PS Plus, and I'm not big on multiplayer. I'm more of a single player, so that's why we're just going to be digging into that. And so, with the campaign, what I did was I went back to the original and played Resident Evil 3, like a week before this game came out, just to kind of get reacclimated with the story and beat it and kind of set expectations for what I might see in the remake. I already read articles and knew that they were going to take away things like those, those scenarios that'll pop up here and there in the original where it's like, do this or do that. And then, each decision had some kind of consequence. And it kind of led into how the game ended. It was like different kind of paths, things like that. So I knew that was going to be omitted from the game. So I was kind of like, okay, we're gonna have a shorter experience, a kind of like tailored, more what do you say, confined, linear experience this time around. And playing the game, that is true, you do get that, but I was just so disappointed in the amount of content that got omitted. Like, I knew there were gonna be some things missing, but man, there were like a lot of things missing. Like, there were times where you would like if you played the original and you're playing this remake, you're going through certain sections of the game like, oh, I remember this part, and you're kind of getting a little nostalgic, and you're kind of like, oh, I think I know what might happen or what they're gonna do, and then you just go right past the area and like do nothing. You just continue to whatever you're going on to, and it's like, oh, that's kind of disappointing. Or there were like certain areas in the game where I'm like, oh, I'm at this place already, or even meeting Carlos and them on the train, like that's within the first half hour of the game. I wasn't expecting to get there, that quick. I'm like, oh, that's how the demo started. I'm like, oh, the demo is gonna like change up a lot of things. The demo was almost pretty much the same. They changed some things here and there, but I'm like, oh, I thought this was gonna be like probably like an hour into the game, maybe an hour and a half when I got there. But yeah, it was like it was really fast paced. I will say that. The weird thing is though, even though they cut so much and omitted so many things, the story and pacing of the game was actually really good. Like, despite what you missed from the original, how they told the story for this particular game and this modernized way, you actually don't feel like you're missing anything as far as the story and plot goes. You don't feel like you're missing anything. They actually do tell the story from beginning to end. It's just disappointing to the OG Resident Evil 3 fans that played it. There were like, I mean, I'm not gonna mention exactly what parts were missing. You're just gonna have to, check out, my playthrough or someone else's playthrough on YouTube if you really want to find out and compare. Like, oh, they cut this part out, or they didn't even go to this play. You just have to find that out. But it just would have been, nice to know, like, oh, how this game could have been. But for what they did do, it actually did tell a pretty good story, even though they were missing certain sections. You don't feel like you're missing anything with the particular story and how it went this go round. Everything's kind of self-explanatory, really quick, fast-paced, to the point, short, sweet, simple, to the point. And I mean, it was actually still good. It was still enjoyable, but overall disappointing though, because with me, I was kind of torn because I'm like, even though I liked the pacing of the story and the plot, I actually did. I was kind of thinking, I'm like, well, if they would have added this scene, or if they would have added this whole part and did this, how would this game would have gone? And I'm kind of like, I don't know. I'm like, you want to think it could have been better because you want, more playing time, but at the same time, it's like, well, if they fleshed out too many things, it probably would have been a little overbearing and unnecessary. So you kind of really don't know, and you never will because the game is made already. This is what they decided to do. But I think that's like going to be disappointing for a lot of the players, especially if you've played the original one. I mean, if you haven't played the original one, it's a really short game. Like my first playthrough was 5 hours and 41 minutes. And mind you, I'm a novice Resident Evil player. Like, I mean, I like the games, I like the series, I like the franchise, but I'm not good at Resident Evil. I'm not good at completing these games. I'm definitely not a speed runner. I mean, with games, period, but especially not with Resident Evil. And I've heard on average people are beating this game 5 hours, a little over 5 hours. So I'm actually in that average, which is surprising to me because I'm so bad at these games. And I only died 9 times. So this is actually not, and I'm played on standard mode, Maya. I played on standard mode. Now I'm not ashamed to admit that I've played on auto aim assisted mode when Resident Evil 2 remake came out. I've also played on rookie mode with Resident Evil 2. So I mean, like, that's just me. That's how bad I am with the Resident Evil games. I'm not ashamed to admit that. But yeah, with Resident Evil 3, it was like on standard mode, only died 9 times, 5 hours, 41 minutes. So to me, I think it's a pretty simple game. So if you're a Resident Evil purist, it's going to be really, really easy for you, I think. And like I said, really fast paced. It was actually good for what they did, how they modernized it. The graphics were really nice. I mean, I'm playing on the 720p television, and I mean the graphics were just amazing. The clarity, the crisp, sharp picture. I mean, of course 4K or 1080p is going to be better. Of course, I mean I can already tell that looking at it, my colors were kind of dull, so I'm pretty sure like oh it would have been like a sharper color scheme if I had HDR and things like that. But I mean my 720p made the game look beautiful, so I can just imagine how much more beautiful it'll look on other screens and things like that with higher resolutions. So I mean that was really good. The way the game was modernized, how it played, similar to Resident Evil 2 remake, but better because of the movement. You have the dodge mechanic, and I think what really makes the game too, what really makes it easier and what really makes it easier to navigate and just funner to play, is how open and expanded the areas are, because you're in the Raccoon City streets as opposed to in the second one. In that remake, you're inside these buildings, these small hallways. Everything is just so confined and it's so claustrophobic, which adds to a nice layer of horror to the game. But at the same time, the encounters are, I think, a lot more stressful, and so it's like you don't feel like you have the room to even run around and dodge zombies, because you don't have that dodge mechanic. You just have to kind of like shoot your way through, and it's kind of hard for me. It was hard to manage. That's why I played on auto aim assisted to get like the most ammo I could, because it's like otherwise how do I properly manage my inventory? And with this one, it's a lot easier because you can pretty much dodge almost any and everybody if you need to, because you just have so much space. You have the kind of movements and kinetic ability to do so if you're good enough and you time everything right and you just make good decisions. So it made this game for me easier to navigate, and I'm sure for anyone else who's a pro, I mean you'll have a blast with it. But at the same time, if you want a challenge, you want it to be hard. I mean, I didn't play on hard difficulty, but I mean, I'm assuming it's probably not that hard if you're really, really good at the game, because of like how open the space is and all the tools that they give you to succeed. Because I mean, this game is more action oriented because it's really more Jill Valentine versus Nemesis, and Nemesis is this overpowered enemy. So they want you to be armed enough to be able to take them. I would say that's where the real challenges came in, when you had the multiple boss battles. Not like just escaping them, but when you actually had the boss battles against Nemesis, that's when the game like was at its toughest. And for me, it really wasn't even that tough because, like I said, I died a total of 9 times. And there were times where there would be like, there were multiple boss battles between me and Nemesis. And I died only once each time on those boss battles. The boss battles were fun to play. You had to, it's basically a series of, he's going to attack you. So run, dodge, find open, shots when you can, bust off shots at him, and then, weaken them. You have to figure out, okay, like his attacks. Okay, when's he going to attack? What does he attack with? How do you dodge? What's the best place to move? Where's the best place to go? When's the best time to use the dodge mechanic? Or what kind of distance should I keep myself from them? All of that was kind of like stressful and trying to figure it out. And it was really good. It was really fun. It was like trial and error. I ran into moments where I'm like using weapons just to use weapons, but I'm like, you have to figure out the best weapons to use, and which weapons are pointless, which weapons are like, okay, I'm just wasting my ammo because this isn't really working. I have to find out where to hit them. And after, playing like for like 8, 10 minutes and then dying, I'm like, okay, I kind of got the hang of it. And you playing again, and like the good thing about it too was they will give you like if you're like out of ammo or low on ammo or whatever, they have these convenient spots that you just kind of run to. You just pick up your ammo. You can just re-up on, your bullets for your pistol or your rockets, things like that. Have gunpowder, have some herbs or first aid spray lying around if you need to regenerate your health. So they kind of like conveniently have things laying around for you. You have enough open room in your inventory to pick up things. You can do that. The only problem is they have a set amount of things. They're not gonna like keep respawning, items. So let's say you use your pistol, you empty all your clips, and man, if I had like 12 more bullets, in my pistol. Well, if you picked up all the ammo for your pistol already that they had lying around, because you're playing within that space, you can't leave. You have to beat Nemesis at that point. You can't like run back to another area. So everything's confined within that. So once you pick up everything, you picked up everything. That's what you used. I was stuck to a point where like the second to last battle, I picked up every single thing, wasted every single bullet, and I basically just had to die because they were gonna give me anything else, to shoot them with or anything. So you gotta like manage everything right. For me, it was like each time I died, I knew exactly what to do the second time because I played them so long, I dodged them so long, I timed everything, I used all my weapons, I saw what weapons were the best, I saw what areas to hit them. So that was, I would say that was the funnest part of the game, is those battles with Nemesis are actually fun. I wouldn't really say they were epic battles, more so like for me, epic was like Metal Gear Solid 1, like all of those boss battles, like going against Raven when he's in the tank, going against Raven when he's carrying, the Vulcan cannon, or just fighting with, Liquid Snake on top of the Metal Gear barehanded, fighting Metal Gear itself, or taking the Hind D down, or just having that shootout with Ocelot, like things like that. These battles, they were really fun, like spur of the moment, they're really fun. But then I think when you beat them, you feel good, but then at the same time, it kind of really doesn't linger all that much. They're like really just fun for the moment, and the cinematics and all that is really good for what they do with this game, especially modern times. So they're fun moments. They're fun moments overall, but nothing quite unforgettable, I would say. Especially if it was called Resident Evil 3 Nemesis back in the day. Then it's kind of like today, it's like, okay, it's cool, but I don't know if people are gonna have those memories like they did back in the day, like the OG Resident Evil 3 players. But it's fun for the moment, and like I said, as far as the story was actually nicely paced. Everything went smooth, but of course, if you want more gameplay out of it, you would have wanted certain areas that they just straight cut from the game, or that they just ran over from the game. You would want those involved, and you would want to see like, okay, if they were in this place and if they were in here, how would it look? What would they expand on? What would be like new plots? What would the puzzles kind of be like to kind of navigate the area and go into new areas that are locked from me? You would really want to see that, and this game leaves a lot to the imagination. That's the most disappointing thing with this game. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it, I had fun with it, I liked it, but I wanted to like it more, and I wanted more out of it. I expected more out of it. So I mean, that was really disappointing, and I think that they lost some points for me with that. But I mean, still, it was an enjoyable experience. It just could have been more enjoyable. It's like high potential that wasn't reached, and and maxed out. That's really what it was. And as far as like the horror aspect of the game, I mean, of course, like everything else, it's subjective. I'm just going to give you my background with horror. I'm not really that scared of things, so it takes a lot to scare me. It's very easy to scare me if you're going to involve insects, though, like insects, spiders, and bugs. I don't like that. So like with spiders in Resident Evil, most horrible thing, like that's what really gets me with the Resident Evil series, when they put spiders in the game. Like when Resident Evil 2 had spiders in the sewers, ugh. Like when I played the remake for Resident Evil 2, I was having fun, but then I got to the sewers and I had flashbacks, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put this game down. I think there was like 3 weeks straight that I didn't even play Resident Evil 2 the remake. I bought it day one and took a 3 week break because I'm like, I'm in those sewers. I know those spiders are gonna come out of nowhere. But actually, thank God they actually didn't include spiders in the Resident Evil 2 remake. I was really thankful for that. I know the original had spiders, and I felt like that was unnecessary. Like sewers, I can get, but in the mansion, like I didn't get that. When they had those three spiders when you're going upstairs, or they had those spiders in the hallway, and they had like the dead guy all webbed up, that was unnecessary to me. They did not need to do that, and so I was kind of shook going into this game. I'm not gonna mention to you guys whether they were in here or not. You're gonna have to find that out. But uh, I will say though, there was only really one part of this game that scared me, and it was really good. There was like it was a puzzle on top of that. It was like a puzzle, and you just had to like deal with these creatures. I'll just show you. I don't know what they were, but I think they were kind of like those creatures from the original one. They were almost like the spiders, but they can jump at you and things like that. They were like kind of green and things like that. I think it was those creatures. And I'm thinking at first I have to like activate these generators. So you have to run around and find these generators. They're not in, easy spots. You can find the first two easy, but the last two are kind of, you have to kind of search for it. And you're in this enclosed dark cave, and you're running around dodging these creatures. And I thought you can just kill all of them and then just, be on about your way. No, these guys just keep respawning. There's like this kind of like nesting area, or nesting areas that they just come from, or they just drop out from the top of the cave. And it's just crazy. It's chaotic. You got this thrilling music. It's really scary. You don't know when they're going to come, where they're going to come from. I'm like wasting all my bullets trying to hit them. And it was kind of like GoldenEye, like GoldenEye 64. Like when you play, enemies never stop coming. There's like unlimited enemies. You just got to kill them. You just got to kill who gets in your way, complete your objective, and then bounce, just move on. That's pretty much how this area was. They weren't going to stop. You just had to find those generators and then get out. And then you were finally done. And so that was the scariest part for the game for me. And then, other than that, it wasn't scary. It was just like a few jump scares that caught me like, ooh, okay. Like, oh, damn, I wasn't expecting that. Jump scares get me sometimes too. When they're really, really unexpected and they're really loud, those will get me. But, I mean, I'm not like the kind of guy like, oh, it gets me every time. It's like, no, if I know it's there and I play it again, then it's like, okay, I know. Like if you have a zombie that pops out of the locker that you open up, it's like, oh, okay. The first time that'll get me. The second time it's like, okay, I know there's a zombie in there, so brace myself, So it was like it was a couple of jump scares, and it was that part that I just described to you that was scary for me. But other than that, I didn't really find the game scary. As far as the puzzle element of it, I'm not good at puzzles. I'm not good at scavenger hunts and things like that. I really like when I played Resident Evil 2, the original. When I was young, I just did not like. I wanted to like I like the characters. I like how the story went. But I just did not like the whole puzzle solving, scavenger hunting of the game. So, I came to appreciate it when I got older and understood more and how to navigate things. With this game, puzzles are extremely easy. So if you like to challenge your brain, which I don't with puzzles, but if you like to challenge your brain and you're looking forward to hard puzzles, you're not going to get that in this game. I'm pretty sure the original, you probably felt that way too if you played the original. Those weren't really that hard, but they were really easy in the remake, I think. It's more like they put a task in your way to get to a new point, and they're just kind of like, just get it done so you can just bounce. They don't make it like really, really hard. So it's very easy. For me, I really liked it. It kept the pace going. I'm big on, pacing games. I don't want anything slowing my pace down. That feels like, just like a mundane task. I wanted to keep it going, keep it flowing. So for me, I really liked it. But if you do like challenging puzzles, that'll be really disappointing for you. But, I mean, if you played the original Resident Evil 3 and you didn't think those were going to be challenging, you probably are going to expect that. Like, I expected to have somewhat easy or decent puzzles in this game. I didn't expect anything to be complex and hard. I expected it to be like a few here, there, and then easy. You just get through it. So that's what I expected, and that's what I got. And, I liked it. But, yeah, if you want to challenge yourself, you're going to be like, eh. And as far as, like I said, playing the game, there's a lot of open room. You still have the item inventory, stress management. That's really good. But I think what makes it easier, they just give you more things this time around. whereas you're crafting your weapons or you have weapons to play with. And it's easy to conserve things because the area, like I said, is so wide open. So it's easy to like not fight when you don't have to. I can save up all my pistol bullets. I can save up all the shells in my shotgun. Like I didn't use my shotgun till like the last hour of the game, really, because I was like just that good at. I built up a lot of ammo, but I was that good at saving and conserving things because it was that easy to just navigate the area and the space. So I mean that's pretty easy. So if you're like a hardcore Resident Evil fan, you might get a little like with that. It might be a little underwhelming for you. Nemesis, like I said, those battles were pretty good. Encountering Nemesis, it wasn't scary at all. Honestly, to be honest with you, I wasn't scared of Nemesis in the original either. A lot of people were. I honestly wasn't scared. I was more stressed by Nemesis because, like, depending on where you were in the game, like if you didn't have like herbs or anything, you're just trying to get to like a certain point in the game to advance the plot. Nemesis would kind of like pop up out of nowhere, and you didn't want to die, so you kind of like try to hurry up and escape from him. But if he killed you, you got to go back to the start screen. You got to say load game, and you're loading the game from where you last saved, from where you last had a typewriter. And back then there was no auto saves, so it's kind of like, let's say you played 30 minutes without saving, and then Nemesis pops up and kills you. Well, that's like 30 minutes that you got to do all over again. And with this game, that's missing because now it's so convenient to save. There are auto save points, and I mean, I've saved often, just anticipating from how the original went. I'm like, let me save every single time I see a typewriter. I'm just gonna save. And then there's auto save points too. So that took a lot of the stress away and a lot of the excitement and fun that I encountered in the original. It took a lot of that away this time around. It's kind of easy to get around, kind of easy to dodge. There are just moments where, like, if it's him and a lot of other zombies, that's where it kind of gets difficult, and you don't really have room to kind of like just shoot a few people and then try to run because he might grab you with those tentacles or just jump in front of you. So I mean, it's kind of stressful running away from him, but there are some moments where it's like, oh, in these spaces it's kind of easier to run away from him. So I mean, it was kind of underwhelming. Evading Nemesis, I would say, more underwhelming than I thought it would be. Facing him in battles, there's a difference between evading him, because they'll tell you on the top screen too. They'll be like, okay, escape Nemesis, and then it'll be like defeat Nemesis. Trying to defeat Nemesis was way funner than running away from him. I mean, in the beginning, it added a lot to the game. It was cool. Like, certain set pieces were exciting, but they're not hard. They're just exciting, for the cinematic moments and things like that. But overall, there's really no stress to it, no challenge. That's what I found anyway. But yeah, and as far as like modernizing the game, they did a really good job. Like I said, with the graphics, with the story, they actually did a good job. Despite omitting so much, you just wanted to see all that stuff added in to see how it would have went. But for what they did do, I don't agree with the decision, but for what they did do, they did craft a good story with what they did do. You don't feel like, oh, I don't understand anything. You understand what's going on. You're just disappointed that, oh, it would have been nice to have this scene, or see how this scene would have looked with these characters. And as far as like the characters and building upon and fleshing things out, they did it just like they did in Resident Evil 2. It's just Resident Evil 2 actually used every single thing that they had, or they added some things. Resident Evil 3, they added things, I would say. They added things they weren't in the original, but small. Or they kind of just went in an alternate path than the original did. But it wasn't enough to make up for what was missing, if you know what I mean. But it was just cool. It was like a cool like alternate thing to see, but you still would want everything else kind of added in that was missing, that you really liked, that was signature or iconic from the original. But yeah, that was like my only gripe with this remake. And the story was a lot better because I mean, like with Resident Evil, I mean, you don't really get like deep original stories or anything like that. I think it's really more just we're into the lore of Resident Evil, like the characters, especially for me, like Resident Evil, like with Leon Kennedy and Ada Wong and Clarifield. Those are my favorite characters. Jill Valentine, things like that. You just like the enemy types, the T viruses, or like the how they affect people, or like the BOWs and like your favorite mutants, things like that. Nemesis, of course. I think it's just really like the lore that drags people in. Like the stories were just kind of, because back in the day, like with the original three, during that time, like stories are kind of like a bonus. If you had them, cool. But if you didn't, no one really cared that much. Nowadays, it's mandatory to have a story. Even your favorite sport game, has a story. So it's really important nowadays. I mean, they don't put together like one of the best stories you've ever seen. It's still Resident Evil. It's still generic, but for this modern time, it's good. And especially like with this particular game, kind of like with the pandemic going on, it's almost like a mirror. I mean, not quite like a mirror. We don't have zombies running around, and we won't. But I mean, just like with a virus, it's like keeping everybody at home, scaring people, and just causing a lot of chaos. It's kind of like more relevant. In its own kind of fantasy kind of way. But yeah, I mean, that felt good with the story, and yeah, I didn't have any complaints with that at all. I thought it was good. Of course, you would like an extra 2-3 hours just to flesh out the game more, but at the same time, my thing was, would it ruin the flow and pace of what they did do? I think I really just more wanted because of what was missing from the original, and just seeing how it would have been implemented in this game. But I don't know, maybe they cut that out because it probably came at the cost of ruining the story. But then again, the story is generic. Who really cares, honestly? But I think they should have just added it. I don't know why they didn't do it, but added those, signature parts and just remade them. But oh well, we never get to see how that goes. But I mean, if that's like a big gripe for you, you'll be hugely disappointed, I think. I know I was disappointed. I still enjoyed the game. But yeah, it's like and it's kind of like they did do characters justice. They did do certain scenes justice. It was almost like Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 2 just included every single thing, like I said earlier. But it was like you did see like differences and things like that. Like if you talk about the original Resident Evil 2, where like let's just say it's like Kendo when you first went into the gun store. Kendo comes from this guy that's like, he's pointing the gun at you because he doesn't know if you're like a zombie or a human. And then he goes from like, oh, okay, you're cool. I'll just let you, stock up on anything you need. And then, boom, out of nowhere, he's getting eaten, by zombies, by a mob of zombies. And that's how his story ends. But in the second one, in the remake, what happens is he goes from, you and Leon and Ada are like invading his space. What's up? What y'all want to do? And, everyone's kind of like, okay, calm down, calm down. And then he has his daughter who's infected. And, he already had lost his wife out there earlier. And so now he's just kind of like, what, just leave me alone. Leave me with my daughter. Y'all do what y'all do. Get up out of here. And Leon and Ada, they just leave. And, you don't really know how his fate ends. You know what he did with his daughter. Because she had to be put down, but you kind of like don't know where it ended. But it was like more relevant, more heartfelt, more of a better story and modernized today than it was from back then. And you do see moments like that in Resident Evil 3. You don't see them that deep or as good, but I mean you do see them good, and you do see them better than what happened in the original. You do see things fleshed upon and expanded upon. It's really just certain moments, scenes, and not scenes, but just certain moments and areas of the original that's just not in here, and you really would have liked to have seen what they would have done with that, what they could have made from that, how this game could have been more expanded, especially playtime wise, if you would have had those areas. But overall, I would say it still was an enjoyable experience. It's really short though, but it's an enjoyable experience, and I give this game an 8 out of 10. It's actually the same exact grade that I gave the original Resident Evil 3, which kind of has me torn because like I don't know which one is better, honestly. Because I want to say this one because it's the remake, it's newer, it's fresher, it has the graphics, it's modernized, it's a better story, a lot of better ingredients. But that cut content puts you back with the original, because the original is like, okay, I had more time, I've had more replayability, and things like that. This game is kind of like you play it once, you get the deal, you're just going back to play it because you like it. I know I'll play it a few more times, but Yeah, I mean, I got it for 50 bucks. I would say it's more so 30, 40 bucks worth, but I think overall you might like it. But if those grapes are big enough that you're like, too short, they cut all this and that, then yeah, you'll be disappointed overall. I would say you'll be disappointed, but you might like something from it. Like, I like the game overall, but I was left disappointed because I played the original. I don't know though, if you didn't play the original, you would be disappointed at how short it would be, at how short it is. I think you might like, you just would wish it was longer, I think. But yeah, but that's my take on it, y'all. And anyway, this your boy Super Mario 1990. I'm out. Peace in.